What conspiracy theories actually make sense and could be true? Over the years, I've become more and more convinced that the 1962 Alcatraz escapees survived. I think it was very plausible. I've swum from Alcatraz Island across the bay dozens of times in open water events in many different weather and current conditions. I've swum the entire distance around the island, and the distance under the span of the Golden Gate. The water in June, when they escaped, is not that cold, and the currents are actually helpful if used to one's advantage. Alcatraz is not as far out as it appears from shore either. I can do it in 35 minutes, and I'm not any kind of champion swimmer, just someone who likes to swim open water. I do recognize these guys were not swimmers at all. But they had a raft, and with steady progress and a go with the current mentality, they could have easily made the shore. Not to mention a "I don't want to go back to prison" mentality. How come? I think it was National Geographic that examined the escape and found that there were footprints leading from the shore and then a stolen vehicle. Later on that day, miles away, the same car was reported to have been seen with 3 men inside of it. Oceanographers have determined that the currents and tides at the time they left, they could have made it to land near the Golden Gate Bridge. There has also been a few other photos, letters, postcards and so on saying that they made it and lived out their lives. I feel the same as Opie. There is a ton of really inconclusive evidence that points to them likely having made it. Whenever you unsubscribe from an unsolicited email, you are actually subscribing to a different unsolicited email. Temporary emails, for when you have to sign up to some sketch. Chapstick companies put something in the chapstick that makes your lips more dry. Edit. Apparently this is true, yay. Edit 2. Apparently this applies to skin creams and stuff too. My favorite one is that the Kardashian sisters keep their brother chubby so they can use his fat for their injections. That's fucking gross. I love it. There is a brother? I see someone has not been keeping up. A lot of the more stupid conspiracy theories were made up, in order to make conspiracy theories in general be expected to not have any logic. This way, a true one might be ignored. I will never outright dismiss a conspiracy theory. I mean, unless it's completely absurd, like Barack Obama being a lizard person, simply because MKUltra was an actual thing that happened. The 10-year challenge on Facebook in 2019, which encouraged FB users to upload pictures from 2009 and a current one from 2019, was actually a front by programmers to gain data and examples to train facial recognition and age progression software. I know I'm going to get hella down thumbs for this, but all the masking over the last 2 years has drastically increased their ability to detect who you are with your face covered. All the Olympic athletes' faces were fully covered when they went through check-in using self-check-in cameras, and it knew exactly who each person was. Pete Davidson is making his way through the celebrities to bring down the Illuminati and find out who really caused 9/11 and avenge his father's death. I would watch the fuck out of that movie. I don't think he's been convicted, so I suppose this counts as a conspiracy, even though the evidence is overwhelming. Dan Schneider is a pedophile who preyed on various Nickelodeon child actors, actresses, and groomed and preyed on Amanda Bynes. On a similar note, Drake Bell was the poor child actor who was raped by Brian Peck, who was another Nickelodeon worker collaborating with Dan Schneider on his shows as a dialogue coach. That women have no pockets or little pockets to buy purses. If you compliment the dress a woman is wearing, you will always find out if it has pockets. I'll give you one that definitely is real. The US government, with the assistance of several other countries around the world, secretly stole body parts from infants from university samples, stillbirths, and some on the record allusions to bodies pulled from indigent burials so they could test the bones for radiation to determine the effects of nuclear bomb detonation, to determine the impact, and if there was any, safe, amount of nuclear explosion. It's called Project Sunshine. There are a shit ton of fake bot troll accounts on social media stirring the pot to keep us fighting each other. Edit. Since it sounds like a lot of people feel the same, I would remind you to check profiles on social media before engaging shit talkers. If an account has been on for 3 years and has 12 karma, they are probably a bot. Or if they follow 8 people on Twitter and their account is 6 years old. We can't catch all of the entrenched bots, but maybe we can at least make it difficult for them to make new ones. Edit 2. After seeing subs that are all bots conversing with each other, I think we lost folks. These computers took over. Burn down the internet and let's start over. This has been proven for years. Back after Trump was elected, some dude ran the data he had collected for an entire year, and it was all done by a ring of like 500 accounts, and accounts linked to those accounts. This is on every goddamn social media network. The entire goal is to destroy public social cohesion, which destroys any sort of organizational effort by the people to effect change. A huge part of, if not the primary function of, the sales that take place in the fine art scene occur as a way for various entities to launder dirty money. Fine art is mostly to secure money. You can't tax a $3 million painting that is hanging in your hallway, but if you have the money in stocks or on your bank account, you pay taxes. Art usually doesn't decrease in value, it is either steady or increasing in price. And no, your random generated monkeys are not comparable to a Monet or Picasso. The FBI assassinated MLK. They have been being sued and Freedom of Information requests have been filed by his family. The FBI has responded that any records pertaining to MLK death they have would be a threat to national security if released. The FBI has already been forced to release documents pertaining to attempt on MLK life and attempts to plant evidence that could be used to send him to jail, as well as extensive blackmail attempt. They tried to kill him before. It makes sense that if they did, they would fight tooth and nail to keep it secret. That Bigfoot Sasquatch actually exists. But he's actually some dude's early persona in the 60s, and he won't come out publicly cause of shame. Bigfoot is just a furry. Disney made the movie Frozen, so that when people searched for Disney Plus Frozen, something other than the disposition of Walt's head came up in the search results. Don't forget about Disney on Ice. That there actually might not be any gold in Fort Knox. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't add up about it. And I've been there in my time in the army, and it was boring as shit with a pretty relaxed security as compared to other installations I've been on. When this conspiracy was hitting its peak in 2017, Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin took a $27,000 military aircraft trip there. There are pictures of him in a weird chalkboard-lined room with several stacks of what appear to be gold bars behind him. But oddly enough, these pictures are in a grainy black and white, so you can't actually confirm what he's holding. Before this trip, the last known outside audit of Fort Knox was in 1953. It's the only conspiracy I can get behind. All the gold in California is in a bank in the middle of Beverly Hills, in somebody else's name. Every phone software update slows your phone down more over time, so you're more inclined to get a new one. Edit. Literally just finished an iOS update, lol. The US government and media divide the nation on purpose so that fingers are pointing to the other side, instead of the source of the problems. Keep us fighting the culture war so we don't start fighting the class war. Some JFK assassination theories are not completely absurd. Why did Ruby bring his dog with him to the police station? Antivirus software creators have the motive to be the creators of most viruses. PETA is ran by the meat industry to delegitimize meat reduction and animal rights. PETA is the Westboro Baptist of animal rights organizations. Honestly, if Hitler shaved his mustache, I wouldn't be able to pick him out of a lineup. Yeah, he needed only to shave and get a wig. The Vatican is hiding stuff, old scrolls, forgotten books, all sorts of stuff. I really don't think this is a conspiracy theory. If you want to have a look at a book, scroll, whatever from the Vatican archive, you need to request that book. Kicker is they don't publish a list of their inventory, so you need to know what is in there. They won't even tell if a book is there or not, or they don't want you to see it. To be fair, some libraries work something like that. I study archaeology, and had some classes on Christian art history archaeology. Also, there is like a ton of conflicting religious texts out there. It was only when the Eastern Roman emperors, Constantine, Justinian or Valentinian especially, had their councils that the whole Christian thing was streamlined. There were different Christian communities all around the Mediterranean at first, and they often incorporated local legends and content from other religions. Later on, when, 300 to 400, Christianity got a little more prominent, they even had disagreements to the point where Constantine and later emperors had to step in. Just have a look at the apocryph writings known today, so you can kind of extrapolate what was around back in the day. Large corporations want to keep universal healthcare away in the US. That burden is on employers who subsidize employee premium. They keep the expense on smaller to medium businesses to prevent them from growing quickly and being a direct competitor. Large corps will see them coming and buy them out first. Another explanation is simply that it means employees feel trapped and can't leave or they'll lose health insurance, meaning they'll put up with more bullshit and crap pay. That this thread gets redone probably monthly, maybe weekly, and is used as a way to gauge people's thoughts and misdirect from actual conspiracies. Did I get here in time to say this? Maybe the real conspiracy was the friends we made along the way. Front-facing cameras are already tracking your eye movements to see what catches your attention, so it can better advertise to you. Also, has anybody watched Kingsman, The Secret Service? Those AirPods we all use are equal to the SIM cards. My favorite JFK theory, the hat-making industry of Danbury, Connecticut was behind it. He wasn't the first president to not wear a hat, but as we all know, he and his wife were very much in the public eye and fashionable. People saw him not wearing a hat, and the trend took off and hurt the hat industry, which was a big industry in Danbury. Old NES games like Simon's Quest were made cryptic and confusing on purpose as a means to sell more Nintendo power. Simon's Quest is so hard because of the translation. They lost a lot. Like there's a whole part where they tell you how to get in the final castle. Totally left out in the American version. Due to their track record, I believe almost all theories involving the CIA. Oh, but they would never do that. Yes, they would, and they probably already did. Edit. Oh boy, I hope I don't get awarded with the CIA Award for Excellence in Journalism. Was talking to a friend about another common friend who is a flat earther, and we were comparing all the conspiracy theories he has told us individually. Then I brought up the JFK assassination and he said, "Wait, now that one is real!" The two-party system in the US is not really a democracy, and is used to divide and conquer the public. Your phone is listening to you. The NSA got caught doing exactly that, and they criminalized the whistleblower. You think they stopped now that he's gone? That's not a theory. That's a fact. Mattress stores are a front for something illegal shady. Surprisingly, mattress stores are actually a terrible front for money laundering. They tend to do so well, and open up in so many locations, because they have huge profit margins coupled with really low overhead. Most mattress stores only need 1 to 2 employees to operate, and don't need to change displays or stock frequently. They also charge substantial markups on their mattresses, which don't cost nearly as much when purchased wholesale. As a result, even if they only sell a mattress or 2 a day, they'll still usually turn a profit. Conversely, money laundering tends to work well in business that can have small, constant transactions in cash, without looking suspicious. This is why restaurants are used as fronts so frequently. It's easy to sneak an extra $1,000 of dirty cash through a business that's already taking thousands of dollars of cash payment normally. This would be extremely hard to do with a mattress store, where a high volume of cash transactions would stand out like a sore thumb. Moreover, the comparatively low number of transactions at a mattress store would make it far easier to investigate each payment for misconduct, whereas the sheer volume of cash transactions at somewhere like a restaurant makes it very hard to comb through every time cash is exchanged. This guy has laundered money before. Companies make light bulbs in a way that makes them last way less than they could, to sell more light bulbs. Yup, because there's one that has been left on for about 100 years and it's never been replaced. Edit to say it's in a firehouse in Pennsylvania, I think. North Korea hasn't been properly Kim-controlled since Kim Il-sung, who died in 1994. Since then it's been a military junta and the Kims are kept on somewhat of a leash, for continuity and to give the plebs something to rally around and focus on. Fear keeps them in line and it's all theater that gives them a sense of purpose so they don't ask too many questions. Kim Jong-il even said to a foreign visitor that it was all fake and his people hated him. The elites are effectively held to ransom in a life of obscene luxury, and there is a lot of paranoia, jockeying and rival factions. High-ranking defectors and various diplomats have actually hinted at this. It's also well known that the top military ranks know their situation is a joke and that they would get squashed by anyone they went to war with. It's just yet another way of rallying the population around a cause and keeping them on their toes. South Korea and the CIA have also said they cannot be 100% sure exactly what's going on and how the system really works. There have also been leaks that suggest the well-informed North Korean diplomatic class are privately not happy with one Kim after another, and feel that something has to give. For what it's worth, I don't see North Korea surviving in its current form for another 25 years. The situation there now appears to be truly desperate, and the worst that's been seen in years. The Great Cheese Conspiracy. Blocks of cheese are packaged in a type of plastic that is designed to tear like paper. This assures that once you open the package, your cheese will dry out or get moldy quickly and you'll need to buy more. There is a cheese conspiracy, but it has nothing to do with the packaging. It involves 1.4 billion pounds of cheese stored in caves in Missouri. Fuck Area 51 raid. Time for Missouri cheese cave raid. That NASA has cockpit recordings of the last moments of Challenger and Columbia, but won't release them out of respect for the families. They absolutely do, and not releasing them is the sensitive thing to do. Snoop Dogg works for the federal government as an informer. This was started by Suge Knight, but still. Snoop has had some offenses that would lock most people up for a long time, but he has always got off. He's had multiple drug and gun charges on top of attempted murder. Dude is everywhere and has been for multiple decades now. Lately I am becoming more and more convinced that some of these Mandela moments are real. I see some of the things they post, and I remember those things differently than they are today. That local restaurant that nobody goes to and has been open forever is a money laundering front. Just heard a new one that's hilarious. The Loch Ness Monster is just the ghost of a dinosaur. Like a brontosaurus walking through a valley that's now a lake for us. I heard one once that America is a corporation. For any neoliberal capitalist country, my country included, it is essentially true. The BBC spends more time talking about GDP than it does about how happy, creative, or safe anyone is. We are basically employees and the ruling class are our bosses. School is just one long orientation day, and after that, productivity is seen as our only way to justify our existence. Death of Michael Jackson may not be what it seems. His father kept him on drugs that had him chemically castrated from before he hit puberty, to keep his voice as high as it was. His lack of a childhood made him obsessed with his idealized concept of boyhood, which he tried to get as close to as possible, living through other little boys. None of his kids are biologically his. The Titanic never sank. The Olympic, sister ship, hit a Navy carrier and was found at fault, causing the White Star Line thousands in damages. This was proven by records. The theory is the Olympic was taken back to the shipyard, cosmetically repaired, and the name plates were switched. Then she sailed under the name Titanic, and was sunk on purpose for the insurance money. There was never supposed to be a loss of life, as there were 3 rescue vessels around the area she had sank, proven fact. Though all 3 underwent a problem that contributed to them not reaching or communicating with the Titanic in time, that fateful night. And 2 of the ships got cited for being in a place they shouldn't have been by maritime officials. Their logs showed they weren't supposed to be there, yet they were recorded as sitting stagnant at those coordinates for days, proven by citation records. In addition, the direction was wrong. The Titanic sailed further north of the shipping lanes than she was supposed to. This would also explain why the temp went from 70 mid-afternoon to icy by nightfall. The temp dropping is another proven fact according to witness statements. The Titanic also underwent a series of misfortune during its voyage. Binoculars lost, wrong coordinates, using SOS instead of CQD, exceeding recommended specs, all of which contributed to its sinking and the tragic loss of life. There's a few documentaries and a few books written about it. Interesting concept, and by now, completely unable to prove or disprove. Cats' stomachs are solar panels. That the reason aliens don't visit us is because they're so far away, light doesn't reach them and they'd be looking in the past. For example, if aliens were living 60 million light years away and if they were looking at Earth, they'd see the dinosaurs. What conspiracy theories actually make sense and could be true? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.